answered. So whatever you say, we'll be here forever. So good morning, guys. I'm Kelly with the Iowa Park and Rec Association, for those of you that don't know me. So just kind of wanted to get a group together here. It sounds like we've got folks that maybe decided to close their pool. Now they're maybe getting some pressure to offer some lap swim. Those that are still trying to debate whether they're doing lap swim here. And I think the first thing I'd like to start with is who on this call has a facility that is open. If you can just name that community or town, not necessarily a pool if we don't recognize the name of the pool here. If you guys can let us know who is open at this time, so that we know when you guys are talking later on that, oh, they're talking about their facility that is open. So does anyone on this call have an open facility? Farron's raising his hand there. Farron, are you guys open right now?
We're open for lap swim and swim lessons.
Okay. I'm just writing all it down. Okay, anyone else? Jill, your indoor pool, correct?
That's not our outdoor place.
Yeah, we opened indoor, outdoors closed.
Okay, and Farron, you said that was indoors.
You're breaking up.
Sorry, Farron. Yep, and Ames is the indoor pool is open. The outdoor Furman Aquatic Center is not open. Anyone else on this call? Yep, and Kate's just reiterating on our chat. If you guys don't have your chat pulled up, go ahead and pull your chat up. That's just reiteration that Coralville is indoor, outdoor facility is not open yet. Okay, so I think what we'd like to do is oh, and Jesse from Carroll, their indoor facility is open as well.
We opened our outdoor pool as well last week.
Okay. What I'd like to do is to open this up for you guys for questions. I think it's, how are you guys operating under these limited, I can only do lap swimming, swim lessons, and lifeguard training. So what I want to do is open it up to you guys to ask questions about what you guys are planning. Sorry, I've just got people still coming in here, getting a little distracted. It's just an open conversation for you. We have no set agenda per se for this meeting. It's just open discussion to try and get the ball rolling for those that are still contemplating if they are going to open. At this time, I have no insight knowledge from the governor as if and when she may or may not lift the restriction for open swimming. I do know that she is starting to get communications from facilities and maybe more like the private industry. And I know for a fact from Lost Island that they are planning to open on or around the 17th when the current proclamation is set to expire. So I know she's getting communication that people are wanting to open and saying if casinos can open, if we can have these gatherings, then why can't pools, that we have a fairly clean, you know, water environment once they get past the front counter and the restrooms and all that. So who wants to jump in with question of how they're potentially operating or ideas?
I have oh, sorry, go ahead.
We opened up for lap swim and swim lessons yesterday, first day. We as a city are not requiring that is a patient responsibility. I've been instructed that all the CDC guidelines are recommendations. We don't have to follow them, so they are focusing on sanitizing and providing sanitizer and increasing our cleaning. Outdoor still closed. We are scheduled not to public yet, to open June 24th. And I'm scared shitless about that because I have no staff. And if you've been following local state park here this last weekend, closed their entrance and one in, one out weekend for all day Saturday, all day Sunday because the popularity of their beach. So and right now, North Liberty hasn't decided yet, unless Ashley's on here to tell me, but I am probably the only pool in 60 miles. So go for it, guys. What do you got?
Well, Farron, I did want to say that within 60 miles, so Independence and Vinton are planning to open. Waterloo hasn't made a decision from the sounds of it. West Liberty's trying to open. And and then Kelowna is operated by the YMCA. So there will be options, but as far as like in our Iowa City area, it is you. I think one thing that I will say is I do think it's good to know in everybody's area, like check in with people that are close to you. So like I mean, I kind of emailed everybody in our radius just to get a read for who's doing what. And I think that's just helpful because the calls are endless. And if, you can people are going to need help with staff and stuff too. So I do suggest that just to kind of be a good steward if you can and figure out who else in the area is opening from a customer service side, but then also just from like a fellow aquatic professional side, especially if they are not as looped in, or if they're just a seasonal operation, then they might need some extra support or have some extra questions. Even knowing like what beaches you have open and what private stuff is open, I think is really helpful right now, just to know kind of where you're sending people. So, but somebody else, feel free to jump in.
I'm obviously not with Benton, but I was there this last weekend. And just for you guys over in the eastern part of Iowa, they are only opening to the school district. So the Benton-Shellsburg School District, you have to live within that to be able to use them for lap swim. They are opening it a little bit further for swim lessons, but lap swim, you have to live within the school district.
So in Sioux City, we're doing lap swim and swim lessons on the 22nd. So we're a couple weeks away. And then is anyone actually training new staff? That's kind of what I had a question about. I just was curious if anyone actually is going to go down that road of like training new lifeguards.
I just finished a class. Obviously, they're not my staff. They were for other facilities, but I did just finish up a lifeguard training class last week, and it went very, very well for the in-person portion. We actually did the CPR in portion with them separated out the 6 feet. A little awkward right at first with, when you're doing your scenarios where one person's got the AED, one person's doing compression. We did the one person bag valve mask per the recommendation of the Red Cross, but it worked well, and it worked really well for the in-water portion as well. We kept the same 3 kids in each group so that they never changed partners, but I started with 3 instead of 2 for the fact that when we got to the backboarding portion, that there was 3. We did wear our masks for the backboarding portion. And as the instructor, I was in the water with my mask as well, and it worked very, very well. So if anyone has additional questions and wants to reach out of how I did a certain portion, I'm more than happy to share that experience with you guys.
Okay, so that is, and have you heard of anyone else teaching them, Kelly? I was literally just on the phone with our HR right before this, and she's like, well, what are the peers, like what are other people in Iowa doing?
I finished an LGI class last Wednesday, and this weekend we are doing a lifeguarding.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lifeguard class this weekend over in Perry.
Cool.
I'm trying one this weekend, but so far I've had 2 sign up, 2 canceled. So I got 0 right now.
I was very upfront with a lot of emails saying this is the protocol that we'll be following per the CDC guidelines. I always ended every email with, if anyone is nervous, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share guidance with you. I did in the last email say, you know, we are entering the portion where we will have close contact with each other. If you are nervous about this, please contact me. And then I also said, if you are nervous about your child having close contact with a patron, because they will have to rescue a patron once they are sitting on the stand, please contact your child's immediate supervisor. So I included the parents in every single email, which is not usually typical, but I wanted to make sure I was very, very upfront with them along the way with this whole process. I didn't have anyone drop the whole time. I never had a parent reach out to me with additional questioning. I think I felt like I got enough of that information out of how we would practice it, and it went really smooth.
Perfect.
So I'll just throw this out on our lap swim. I put out 1 week of lap swim for reservations with like roughly 350 time slots, like individual lane time slots, and we are 93% full for the week. We filled every single spot yesterday, and right now we have like 2 spots left today. So lap swimming has really been in demand.
How many, can I ask how many you're allowing per lane?
1.
How
So-
long are you letting them reserve for?
They can do 1 reservation per day, a 1-hour time slot. And even if they're family members, I'm not letting them share a lane because it can encroach on the people next to them. So it is just 1 person per lane. And then I'm having half
Shut off after a while. I just
start and
wanted to know
stop
the
at one end of the
basics
pool, and the other lane start and
about
stop.
lap swim and swim lessons.
Also,
Some of the
when they're
guidelines, some of what they're doing.
resting and taking a break, there's a additional gap.
I did go lap swimming in Grinnell. They have opened their outdoor facility. We also signed up for time slots. They're allowing 4 1-hour time slots per week that you can sign up for. You could show up or call the day of to see if, you know, you can hop in any open ones. It went very well. 1 person at a time in the front door. You checked in, asked a few questions, walked out to my lane, got in my lane, swam for my hour time slot, hopped out, walked right out, never went to a restroom facility, never touched anything. Went well what I saw. Amy wants to know what people are charging for lap swimming. I actually was able to purchase a regular pass for the same price that Grinnell had done. It's kind of a buy at your own risk type. So I think theirs is $3.25.
Okay.
But what are others charging here to help Amy out?
We canceled our summer season passes and refunded those. We extended our fall, winter, spring pass through Labor Day. So if they didn't have a pass already, their options are the punch card, which is 12 swims for the price of 11, or they can pay daily admission, which is $4.50 for an adult and $4 for youth or senior. And that's just our normal indoor price.
We suspended our passes for 3 months, and then we're not currently selling any passes. So if they have a current pass, current punch card, or Paley Daily,
So in Iowa City, we're tentatively opening on Monday. We haven't released that out to the public for lap swim yet because we had a LED lighting project here at Mercer, and we have not gotten it. We haven't had the post-construction inspection yet. So the closer we get to Friday, the more likely we're going to have to obviously push that back. But we've suspended all of our passes as well, and that's because they're reduced price because of you get your money's worth the more you come. So everybody has to prepay per lane. We're doing the same thing as Jill, where it's one person per lane. It's $4 for that. You cannot use a punch card or an annual or a monthly pass. And you prepay through ActiveNet for the lane, and then it's staggered every other lane. And we have 7 time slots throughout the day, an hour per swim block, and then a 15-minute buffer. And then we also have an hour-long midday shift change. That's a deep clean where our maintenance staff will come in and do an additional deep clean of the facilities, including the locker rooms and the on-deck bathrooms and other high-touch surfaces.
Anything else on lap swimming?
I do, because I do get this question quite a bit from surrounding pools. For those that are doing lap swim right now, are you allowing like water walkers, WaterX people to reserve lanes and just kind of use that lane to stand still and do their own workout? Or how are you guys approaching some of that population with it? If that
Good
makes sense.
question.
We have a shallow end that I can reserve 2 people to do water walking in. I do have a small population that does aqua jogging, and honestly, I don't care. They reserve that lane, they paid the money, they can take that lane up. But I do have 2 available spots in our shallow end for water walking in. Not as popular as lap swim, but I do have people taking me up on it already.
Awesome.
I've said we'll allow water walking as long as they're moving back and forth along the lane, but we're not doing like a individual aqua class. Just like lap swimming, they need to be moving back and forth down the lane.
I know
When you
others had reached out to me to ask that same question, and I did a little aqua jogging stuff during my swim yesterday since I had not been in the pool for how many months. I wanted my whole hour time slot, but I was not going to swim continuous laps. So did a little aqua jogging up and down the lane. I know others are allowing some water walking that have the shallow parts. Other facilities are. So
yeah. When you guys have your, good morning, everyone. When you guys have your tea time, so to speak, is there a break in between? If you have from, say, 8:30 to 9:30, is there a break before the 9:30 person gets into your lane?
We have 15 minutes, so we're allowing them to come in 5 minutes before their reservation time. And asking them to be gone at the end of their reservation time. So if it's 8 to 9, they can come at 7:55, but they need to be gone at 9.
We do not. We go back to back. So if you swim from 6 to 7, we have next person come in 7 to 8.
Okay.
We just tell them they can come in and they need to be out within that hour.
I did find that a lot of people aren't using the entire hour. You may have a couple, but a lot of them are trickling out earlier anyway. So in watching yesterday, I did wonder if that was really necessary, but I decided I wanted it to start with to see how things work.
Yeah, I'm considering just doing 45-minute and then, I don't know, 15, but we can't just do laps when we're going to have to consider lessons too. So let's fight about the time here. I don't know. So, okay. And do you let them in your locker rooms, or you come in ready to go and you leave wet? Is that correct?
We said locker rooms are for restroom use only. Please come dressed ready to swim. Please leave right away.
Okay.
Especially, we're opening at 5:30 a.m. and we have people that are going straight to work. So I don't know if somebody changes.
Sure.
I'm not policing.
Okay.
But when they did hear showers running, we did just kindly say, we need.
No.
So
Okay.
we're doing the hour and the 15 minutes, but I will say there was a thread in the NRPA Aquatics group, and the most popular time is 45 minutes. We went back and forth between 45-minute or 60-minute blocks, but we wanted to start with, we're starting more heavy-handed on everything, including policies, so we can dial it back, but we don't have to go more strict. So, well, hopefully. And one of the thing was, is I didn't want 12 hours of, it's just a lot of turnaround. So we are doing 7 1-hour blocks throughout the day. And it's really just kind of more traditional 7 to 5 hours to start. And we're not doing weekends either. Our locker rooms are one way. So we have 4 locker rooms, and they're touchless locker rooms. So the doors will be propped open. There'll be an in and an out for women, in and out for men. And then we have our solarium doors that we can help other people, not other people, but people that need additional accommodations through those doors if we need to. But it's really just a passing through, and then they'll be encouraged to use on-deck bathrooms.
Okay.
We have told her that locker rooms are open, enter at your own risk type of a deal. We suggested they come prepared to swim and leave. Some have, some haven't. I don't remember anybody taking a shower yesterday, but a lot of people use the locker rooms to change clothes and then left. But we are not going in the locker rooms after everyone goes in there. We will go in after lap swim, before lessons, after lessons, before lap swim, but not in between.
Okay, so let's jump ahead to, we've got a question coming in. Is anyone planning on actually teaching the fitness classes? So I have personally received this email a couple different times from folks. If we're looking at the exact wording of the governor, I'm gonna say fitness classes do not fall into that category, but I'm also gonna say that someone might get creative with their wording. IPRA and Kelly is not condoning you to go out and teach. I'm just letting you know what others have potentially shared with me. That American Red Cross at level 6 does offer fitness or safety swimming and the diving portion if you guys are teaching American Red Cross swim lessons. So could you have an adult swim lesson class that is fitness? Again, I am not promoting that. I am not personally or from the IPRA. I'm just saying I know people are starting to get creative with their wording of what they're offering. So is anyone else offering anything right now like that?
I can chime in. I mean, Clive is not going to be offering WaterX, but I am working with the local pool here in our community as they've opened up their medical pools. They're going to start doing their WaterX, but we looked at the class or their actual pool size, taking Pete DeQuincy's information that came out from that California packet with the 1-to-12 ratio. We've knocked down their class to 1-to-6 because their pool is a little bit smaller to allow that social distancing. And the company right now is going to be looking at how they're going to do with their membership, who's a part of that class, who's not, because it usually was a first come, first serve, fill in. Now they're going to start looking and working with their supervisors on registration for those once free programs. So that's all I know from WaterX.
I also interpret it as not allowed at this time. We are doing when you read the pool section, so we are not doing them at this time. I'm also just going to throw in, I talked to our county inspector, or he's from the county, and it seems like all the inspectors had a meeting with the Iowa Department of Public Health yesterday, and he just let me know there really wasn't a lot of news. There was no indication on whether or not open swim would be allowed on the 18th. So I appreciate his communication.
Yeah, we're not going to forge ahead on water exercise at this point in time, although that's probably our biggest draw for the indoor pool besides the lessons during the school year. So I did not interpret what the governor had said wasn't okay to proceed on water extras. I did not get that. So we're not moving ahead on that at this point in time. So, but I would be interested in hearing how about lessons more, if anybody has the time or inclination to share how they are going to do that, seeing how the last information that I got from the Red Cross was that they didn't really know how we were supposed to teach a 3-year-old how to float without breaking social distance. And so the only thing I've moved ahead on working with Spence is that unless they already know how to swim, we can't really offer them an American Red Cross class, meaning level maybe a 4, but the 5 and the 6 is for sure. Can anybody help me in that respect?
Sure. Kate and Brian and I had the privilege to get on a Zoom call with Cindy last week, along with a few folks from the product team. And the product team is who writes the protocol. We wanted to see where we were at. We were asking questions. Kate was letting them know that, it was Ellis and Associates and others have come out with very specific wording. Some folks were feeling a little frustrated that, pools have been allowed to open in the state of Iowa, teach swim lessons, and we have nothing in writing. They do have a committee that is working currently on a document guidance for American Red Cross swim lessons. Their holdback is the number of professionals with doctors and other medical professions on this committee, that everyone's really taking their time. They're doing their due diligence, and they are stating that when this document comes out, you will see with it future classes programming that these same protocols will be put in place. So it's not a quick fix document they're trying to put out, although that frustrates people that are, banging their head against a wall, potentially trying to start swim lessons next week. He did say to us, the call was last Monday, so June, whatever that was. They all blend together anymore. He said potentially 2 weeks, so that could put it as early at the end of this week, Friday. We had shared with them some of our thoughts on the family lessons, or just having an instructor on the deck, and Brian and Kate step in if I'm misspeaking at all, but it sounded like they thought once we shared the ideas that we had kind of discussed on some of our Zoom calls, that we would not be disappointed with the material that would be coming out, and that we would see potential guidance. And again, he couldn't say for sure because the document hadn't been released and in its final stage, but potentially instructors being on the deck, someone who is water competent. So we know once someone passes level 3, they're potentially water competent in a pool setting, not open water, but having that water competent adult accompany someone in the water up to level 3, with the instructor being on the deck. Task stations, for those of you who are WSIs, task stations would be implemented. And that, potentially those instructors on the deck for the upper level classes, we would see that. They did completely understand the frustration that we are trying to open. They said that they had just put so much focus right now into the lifeguard training to try and get that out first, and then this was the next step. So we will share that as soon as we catch wind of it. They were very receptive to us. Brian, Kate, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, Kelly pretty much hit it on the head of the nail. I mean, basically it sounded like they're on the same page with us. It's just they're looking at it in terms of every angle, and then also their legal aspect as well. So hopefully we'll see something later this week, if not early next week. But yeah, it was pretty receptive about, instructors being out of the water, having parents in. So that was relieving to kind of hear.
Brian, touch on you asked about, or I think it was you, about using the Red Cross name and the changes to this.
Correct. So looking at it kind of if we want to get really legal with it, if we modify the American Red Cross underneath their name, technically that is illegal, I guess, so to say. Anyways, long story short, asking the American Red Cross, because you guys don't have guidance on this, we have to modify our programs to make it so social distance and safe. Are we held legally to the American Red Cross name? Can we drop it? They just said basically, you know, the recommendations with the parents in the water and everything is on target. You're okay to keep the name. But if we were to completely rewrite the whole program, then yeah, we would have to drop the name. So does that make sense? Did I kind of clarify that?
So basically, if you're modifying the curriculum based on assumptions now and or when they release their recommendations, then even though it's going to deviate from what we've all been taught to teach for lessons, we can still all use the Red Cross name, because that was what our concern was. So even as you modify it, you can continue to use the Red Cross name. And they said that they wanted us to continue to use the Red Cross name. So take that as you will.
I did ask if there would be any additional modifications to the WSI class as I was getting ready to teach one. And they said, no, the current toolkit that is out on the website is what we should be following. And they did not expect to have any additions to that. So if you are planning WSI, please go ahead, plan it just like you did lifeguard training. They don't expect to have any additional changes. My guess is by the time you're teaching it though, just like I did with the lifeguarding class, like, hey, we're learning all these rescues, but Red Cross is recommending that we do the rear rescues. I have to teach it to you in the class. You have to show me it to pass the class. But again, here's what the Red Cross is recommending, you know, for that, or similar to bag valve masks. You know, we're learning it one person. Red Cross is still saying that in an actual emergency, it is best to do 2-person. It is the most effective. So, you know, maybe if you're teaching that WSI class, looking ahead to what is going to be put out and passing on those to the students, because especially if you're teaching a wide range of people, I'm going to say that, you know, the coordinator, the lesson coordinator that you have on deck might not be up on all of those that, you know, pass on as much information as you can as those kids spread out to their communities to continue to share those updated recommendations.
I have a question for maybe Kelly, Kate, and Brian, who are on that call, and then a comment about what we're doing for our lessons. But first, the question: has anyone talked about for your, how'd you put it, your water competent adults? Has anyone talked about giving them? Somebody gave me the recommendation of giving them like a rescue tube in the like. I mean, you know, granted, you know, levels 1 through 3, you would anticipate them being in shallow water the entire time anyway, but. Is there you guys hear anything about that? Like giving them an actual like rescue, just something, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna need it or if they request it or anything to help out your adults.
I have used rescue tubes in the deep end, and please remember that level 3, there is quite a bit of work in the deep end. Anytime one of my instructors was in the deep end, so it's part of level 3, most of level 4, and then 5 and 6, when you are in the deep end, that the instructor and myself included has a rescue tube that is under my armpits at all time. I have seen 2 level 3 kids take down a very, very strong swimmer that jumped in at the same time when it was supposed to be one-on-one. So that was an immediate policy I put in place. And I have made that recommendation to others that are considering this adult in the water, just to have it on them, just like the lifeguards do under the armpits floating around. That's my personal. I have not seen the Red Cross make that recommendation. I don't know that they will.
But you would give all of your. Sorry, Brian, I'll let you go here. But you would give all of your adults rescue tube, is what you're saying, though. Okay.
I've kind of done this pre-COVID, and I'll probably do it post-COVID too, as we look at working with adults and kids together. The other option is having them just get used to wearing a life jacket in the deep end. You know, every day, kind of just understanding how it fits and how it moves and how it rolls. And then based on where their development's at, you could, as an instructor, decide when to take that life jacket off to really see if they understand it. So depends on how you present it as well.
I can tell you guys, we're on our second day of swim lessons. I offered reduced set a number of swim lessons. I can offer 2 classes in our shallow end, 1 class in our deep end, reduced number of max numbers. At the first time I offered 33 different classes and I had 5 that met the minimum number of $9 go. So that being said, I'm not quite sure public's ready for us yet. Also, I got them going on right now. I can hear them out there now. I think parents that did sign up for it are receptive to what's happening, receptive to the fact that they are going to have to help their child. The instructor's on the deck. I think they're receptive. That being said, I had tons of people saying, I'm not getting in the water with my kid. So don't expect a lot of people at this time, and I would say be hesitant even in July of getting high numbers for lessons. I also have noticed with my staff during staff training, as much as I can promote social distancing and all that stuff, there is no pandemic right now. I can tell them right now and keep them that, and they are grouped together. And I've seen it with lap swimmers. They're pretty good. They're adults, but they also, I think they're more cautious. But as far as staffing goes, my staff have thrown a lot of the social distancing to the side. Good, bad, or indifferent, but the mentality that the city has taken, it's a lot of responsibility for the patron and for my staff to take on themselves. It's not my job to tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind when you're progressing on here. But yes, I have 1 class going on right now, 4 parents and 4 kids in the water.
I
Nope.
just wanted,
Okay, so
so we haven't pulled together our lesson program yet, but I have done some informal surveying in parent groups in this area as an undercover aquatics person and a parent, an a out in the open parent. And the feedback that I'm seeing when people are just kind of raising their hand for what they're interested in right now is a lot of people aren't interested in lessons. First of all, they're not ready. And then the other group of people are wanting one-on-one lessons, and they're okay with limited interaction and contact with teachers. Like by and far, that is the most popular option that I've seen in the 3 groups that I've posted, and that's with like over 100 people responding to the survey. So that's going to inform what we do. I have some just things to think about if you are doing classes that you're requiring someone to be in the water. I think you need to figure out a way to figure out if that person is competent. I think you also need to be mindful of your language and make it more extensive than just saying parent. I think it can be a family member that's of a certain age, or a care provider, or a babysitter, things along those lines. But I would just be cautious of how you're presenting it, and just clarify if your teacher's in the water or your teacher's on deck. Our staff, I've surveyed them, and they're, I agree with you, Farron. I think that our city is taking more steps to make sure that patrons and staff are wearing masks at all times, whether they're working or they're in buildings. And we have disposable masks. If people don't have one, then they need to put one on. And we have the ability to tell them that and to make sure that's happening. So staff they are wearing masks when we're doing training, and right now we're just prepping and cleaning and getting ready to open. But and overall, they're the ones that aren't comfortable with limited access or limited contact with kids with lessons are just not ready to come back at all. And so that's what I'm finding. So I think as I start to put together our program, I'm going to be looking at offering private lessons. And my initial thought is private lessons, and then people are able to say, I feel comfortable with limited touch, or I don't feel comfortable with any contact, and it's an individual choice. And then we're gonna, we have the ability to subsidize those lessons to make sure that they're accessible. So I'm looking at making the time shorter of the private lessons. And my gut tells me right now that I'll just be offering shorter private lessons at a variety of times, and then people will be able to opt in or opt out of touch. But I probably will have instructors in the water but socially distancing when they don't want contact, as a safety mechanism. I don't think I'm going to be letting people just teach from the deck, even with upper levels. And so that'll be, staff will have to opt into that, and the public will have to opt into that, and we're not allowed to do any waivers of any kind. So that'll be part of what you sign up for when you sign up for lessons.
I have my staff teaching from the deck, but I have an area where they can get in the water, and they're actually doing both on their own. They're actually in the water, popping out, which kind of surprises me. But I do see just from yesterday, as when the class started, everyone was social distancing, and then it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And then the other thing I found out was parents do not understand social distancing. So we gave them a roughly 6x12 area to practice in. They were not being directed at that particular time, so they practiced with that child's skill, and they just started going across the whole pool. So that's going to be a challenge too, to reel them in and have them understand this is an area where you need to stay for right now. We have not offered anything in July yet. We purposely just did June lessons to see how it goes. Kind of wait and see what everyone else is doing, what parents are telling us, what they're not telling us. So we haven't set up our July schedule yet.
Kind of, like you said, we've only done our first session times. We're finalizing right now our second June session, because we wanted to see what's going on. Sorry, he wants a snack of shredded cheese.
And right?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Did you bring enough for everyone, Jill?
It's like a 4-pound bag. Sorry, so we started with instructors just on the deck, but they felt like they were talking down to people. So already from yesterday, we are trying instructor in the water, but keeping a 6-foot distance. CDC says don't wear your mask in the water, but if you're teaching and standing and staying above and not demonstrating, we are wearing the mask. Then, honestly, we're kind of playing around with it. Agree with the parents who have come, have loved it. They're having a fun time. They're enjoying being in the water. I think the really hard part is parents who have multiple kids that they're trying to get into lessons, and how do they do that? And we don't have a real good answer other than this is what we feel we can offer right now. We're continuing to look and see what else we can do, but we wanted to offer what we can. And we put cones, so every 6 feet around the deck, we alternate red, orange and yellow, so it kind of helps identify. We put cones all the way around the deck, and that's helped a little bit with getting their space on where they should be. Been pretty low numbers at any given time, so they've had space to work with. But it's interesting.
That's one point you made. That's definitely how we're spinning this year, is we're like rebranding this into like, it's almost like a program. Like you get to be in, we're going to make this a fun time, for lessons. And so, I have a meeting with my managers here in like 15 minutes. So for the first time, and we're, that's one of the big emphasis, a big point of emphasis we're going to make is like this isn't going to be the traditional, just like, it's just not going to be traditional in any sense. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to try to really rebrand this and, make it like an enjoyable time for parents. But what we were thinking of doing, and for the two, or for parents with more than one kid, was we were going to allow them to be in the water with 2 kids, but not any more than 2. It's just after that point, it would get really hard, because everything we were going to do was we were going to break, like, let's just say there were like four kids to an instructor, say, you know, we would break them up and go like, okay, you know, the 1 and 2 go out first and come back to the wall, and then 3 and 4, you know, go out and come back to the wall. So then that way the parent could switch off. We haven't found out any way to do more than 2. And even the 2 is like a little bit risky, because you're hoping they're going to stay with their hand on the, you know, on the wall or whatever it is. So I don't know if anyone else is doing anything like that, but that was our thought process.
We did have a couple calls. One was twins and one was kids that were really close in age, that were in the same level. And we said we'd prefer 2 adults. It was level 3B and level 2. For 1 adult child, but as long as they are appropriately in the same level, and you understand that they may get a little less instruction time per child because you do have to split your time between the 2 of them, I think it's reasonable to have 1 adult to allow the 2 kids to go. One of them came yesterday and one of them starts today. It seemed to work well. If it was preschool, maybe not, but for the levels that they were at, we said, yeah, we'll try it.
Did you, how have you guys set up your fees when you've included an adult? Have you made any modifications to the fees because you're kind of teaching them, but you're really not kind of not teaching them? What have you guys done with fees?
We have,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Farron, if that was
We-
you.
we haven't changed anything. Our daily admins are the same. Our swim lessons are the same. We have a certain cost per lesson, and that's the only thing we changed. If we're going 10 times, it's this. If it's 8 times, it's this. Reason we started lessons and lap swim as fast as we could was that we need the revenue in the city of Coralville. Oh, I don't going to fly the fact that we were going to reduce rates and then offer this. So we're doing the best that we can on that aspect. And like I said, people are or they're not comfortable. They know what they're signing up for. So it's their choice at this time. And I'm not sure who mentioned it, but you're right. This is not a normal summer. It's not going to be a normal fall. So we are going to offer what we can and what we feel we can do. And that's what it's going to be. And the rest will go to Iowa City. So we're okay.
What about, but if you're keeping your fees the same though, how far down have you reduced the numbers in your classes though?
We, with my shallow end, I figured out with a 6 foot roughly spacing, I can have 1 class of 5, 1 class of 6, and then my deep end, I picked a class of 8 for 8 lanes because we gave them their own lane. So reduction of that is actually it increased my preschool classes because I usually do 1 to 4, so now it can be 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and then so it's maintained or increased the levels. Now the number of classes offered is obviously big time.
Yeah. So if you had to guess at what your overall reduction in the number of people that you're able to service versus what you normally are able to service at one time, if you had to take a stab at it, what percentage would you say you're down or you cannot service as you have in the past?
2/3.
A lot. Like we're doing Monday through Friday morning lessons, and I would cancel maybe 1 class, maybe 2 during that morning. And now we have 5 going, so I'd say it's 8 plus. But I can look it up and send it to you, Carolyn. But I'm horrible.
I know it's bad. I know it's bad. So that's what, we're all hurting for for revenue, but my concern, if we're running someone as a cashier at the front, we've got somebody coordinating from the deck, and we've got one instructor per class, yet we're only able to take a fewer numbers because of trying to even social distance and the amount of space in your pool. There's no way we could, not sure we can even turn a profit on the classes. So that's what I'm worried about.
When I figured out the classes and when I presented it to Scott and Sherry, I told them that we have 3 patrons sign up for the class. I will make $9.58. And that is not paying the lesson coordinator or the 2.
Oh, yeah,
That's just in the instructor.
yeah.
And they said, run it.
Okay. Just wondering.
We all are.
So I'll kind of fill you in a little bit with what Clive is doing. We just submitted our plans yesterday, and it's fully underneath review right now for approval. But essentially, our fees, going back to it, it will not change. Even though our structure is changing, we used to have a 2-week lesson. We're doing it weekly now, Monday through Friday, just to at least try to get good retention revenue. Overall, we're still losing a significant amount of money if we run it, but still, that's not my decision. That's the city officials. But how we looked at the lessons is we, instead of looking at the number of classes, we looked at the total minutes. So if we're doing 210 minutes total, we took our Monday through Friday, we actually increased our class time from 30 minutes to 40. And that first 10 minutes actually has a COVID group showering procedure, so we can educate people about the importance of showering before getting in the water. So we've installed that into the program, but total about 200 minutes. We're trying not to upset our patrons that kept it relatively close. Right now, it's just waiting for people to say yes. So
Anything else on lessons? If not, another question I'd like to move on to is anyone hosting swim team practices? This is something that I'm getting multiple questions about, and I do not have the answer because I haven't looked up what YMCA or USA Swimming is doing. I have simply responded with my understanding of the proclamation is distancing, so 1 person per lane at a time. Again, maybe siblings sharing a lane, but when they both stop at the same end, how are you still distancing 6 feet apart? And that is only if newer facilities that are built, a typical lane line is 7 feet wide. So if everyone's swimming right down the middle of that black lane, you're still maintaining that distancing. So has anyone ventured into the swim team area?
Quickly, when you are teaching your lessons,
Our local swim club has gone out to the country club now. We are not allowing them at the indoor pool until we get clarification. It's in our legal hand because the proclamation does say swim teams or individual sports like swimming, but in the pool section, it does not specifically say. So until our legal clears that and gets confirmation that yes, swim teams.
We are not on swim team here right now. And a lot of it is that the lap swim we're offering is way reduced than normal. I do know that a lot of my lap swimmers, that in the non-traditional times, like the 6 to 8, they were all my traditional lap swimmers. This afternoon, we're open from 11:30 to 1 or 11:30 to 4:30, and like the 1:30 and on time slots are tons of swim teamers. But they are paying their they have swim passes or paying the daily admits and stuff like that. I do notice that your biggest culprit of not swimming down the middle lane, are your swim teamers.
Mhm.
They're not used to that. They're swim all the time, so they are hugging that lane line, but they don't seem to care. But I do notice this afternoon we are going to have a lot of swim teamers here. But as for practice, we're not opening up now. Kate probably has more information on this because she deals with eels closer than I. But I thought all USF swim meets and stuff were canceled for this summer.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
They are. I'm not too sure about the Iowa summer conference though, because during the summer, there is kind of this get together with conferences areas, and I haven't heard anything from them. All I know is USA Swimming is saying no sanctioned events at this time.
And I think it's on Model Aquatic Health Code. One of those has a link for competitive swimming. I could be wrong, but one of those on our website does have a link for competitive swimming. But I haven't read it.
So with us, we are the home of the Iowa City Eels. So we are doing a modified, we kind of had to work backwards a little bit because we originally, the city of Iowa City said that we weren't allowing any youth sports of any kind in fields, parks, facilities, pools through the middle of August. But when the governor walked back on like seasons and allowing things to happen earlier than originally stated, we did change our stance on that. So we've been able to get ice back in the water, but not as a sanctioned swim meet practice. So what we're doing is we're allowing them to rent a couple of lanes per swim time. So I have 8 lanes that are available theoretically on Monday, but more likely probably midweek or the week after. And I told them that they could either do 2 or 3 or 4 lanes at a time. But if they did 4 lanes a couple of times, and they couldn't have 2 lanes other times. So basically I gave them a percentage of what they could have for the lanes. So they're going to be doing 3 time blocks with us, and I have their registration ahead of time so that I can add that into ActiveNet, and then the rest of the lanes are opening to the public. But they're paying, ICE will be invoiced for the same cost per lane as the public. So they're going to be paying $4 per lane per athlete, not allowing them split to share lanes. And we've set up the pool deck so that my staff's on one side, and we have 2 different lifeguard chairs. So we don't have to sanitize the chair in between rotations. And we have like an A and a B chair, and they'll sign themselves up for what that chair is at the beginning of the shift, along with the other equipment they're going to need. And then on the other side of the pool, no patrons are allowed over there. And that's where Dawn or James, the assistant coach, will be. So they're able to walk down the side of the deck, and that's where the swim team, those are the lanes that we have reserved for the swim team. So we're doing that on a very limited basis. We're also giving them some solarium space outdoors, and we'll help them with taping that if they want to use that for very, very small group. I mean, they're not allowed to have more than 4 athletes at a time, very small group, dry land and conditioning type stuff. But we thought it was really important that we were keeping things as consistent as possible, kind of like Jill said, with not letting people that are part of the same family in one lane. Like, we're keeping things super consistent so that there's no misinformation or a poor public perception about how we're enforcing things. So we're doing that with ICE. We're going week to week reservations. We'll see how it goes. They are not above our priority to serve the public, but we also do want to make sure that they have some water. Even if they're not going to have meets, we want to make sure that they do have the ability to practice some. So they'll have to pick and choose what athletes get that time with Dawn, and other athletes they can reserve lanes as they'd like, but they're not allowed to have a coach on deck if they're not with the coach. So if they go and they rent the lane, they can't have a coach on deck. That's part of our policies. People aren't allowed to have coaches on deck if it's drop-in. It has to be lane rental, and that's every club, not just ICE.
Yeah, we do have a lot of ACAC swimmers reserving lanes too, and we are not allowing spectators, so no coaches. So we do have them reserving lanes. They do have passes. I'm also curious what people are doing on ages. So we went 16 is what we consider an adult for our passes. Our typical policy is 16 and over. under 16 can swim with a swimming adult in their lane while we're not sharing lanes. So what I did now is most of our times are adult only, but I have 3 times on Saturday and 2 on Sunday where we are allowing under 16. But we're still requiring a swimming adult, but reservation, and then I'll have a second lifeguard. Part of it is we staff differently when there's kids there and when there's not. So I just have 1 guard during adult lap swim, but we'll have 2 when we have the expectation of kids there. But just curious what others are doing.
I'll be honest, I never really thought about that because I figured they're signing up for a lap lane. They know how to swim. But I do.
Well,
I have seen a lot of kids because of the swim team. So I haven't run into that one yet.
So our policy is 12 and up, but we're gonna put it out at 16 to start as well. And that is because it's 12. If you pass the swim test, you can be here by yourself. But that's our facility policy. But honestly, the amount of calls that I've gotten and the response has been, what am I supposed to do with my kids? Has me concerned enough that I'm starting at 16 and then I'll walk back to 12 if I need to for swim team purposes. But I just, just like one policy at a time with that. I feel like we need to be more conservative and then walk back off of it if it's too strict.
So for your laps or your lap swims, are they also 16?
Yeah, all we're doing right now is lap swim, and we haven't even started it yet. But lap swim first, and it'll be 16, and then we'll send all the policies out to people. It'll be in ActiveNet when they register for a lane. They'll be able to pick what lane they want and what time, and then there'll be a bunch of policy they agree to, and one of those will be that they're 16.
And Jill, did you you have in your little abode, you have rec tracks still, don't you?
We have rec track. I did not have the knowledge to set it up myself, and the people who did, one was out of the office for a few weeks, not because of COVID, but and the other was just too swamped to be able to do it. So I had to figure out how to do this on my own. I would recommend signup.com because it was a mess to try to figure out like date, time, and specific lane. But signup.com is free. There's of course paid options, but that has worked pretty well so far. Able to let them do all that. They don't have to sign up for an account. They can register. I did have a few people get frustrated trying to sign up, but overall, and we, of course, like we all do, we have some swimmers that are up there in age and maybe not as tech savvy, but people figured it out pretty well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
We doing paper and pencil.
Yeah.
All we've done is from June 8th through June 23rd. We haven't gone beyond June 23rd yet. What we're running into ActiveNet was that we couldn't limit the number of time slots people would register for. So that's 2 per week with us. So if they swim today, then they can register for next week, Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going out past a week ahead of time. So like I said, may change when things get settled down, but right now that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Are you releasing a day at a time or a week at a time?
1 week at a time. So
When
you
are you allowing them to sign up? Like, what's your start time to release those next times?
We took signups last week for this week. We allowed them 2 times during this week. When they finish that second time, or whenever they come in, we'll allow them for 1 week from that day.
Okay.
It's not my policy. They're following the racquetball booking policy, but so.
Can I wrap back a little bit to the lap swimming and 60 and over, just kind of with that and some team. I was kind of thinking of a possible solution, a tactic that was used years ago in one of my locations as we had struggles with lap swimming swimmers. Is there a possibility maybe during this time to carve out a couple times in the week where those 60 and under can do a swim test? They go into a book, and then as they come in, they just get checked and say, yeah, they're eligible to lap swim type of deal. I mean, just kind of a thought process with that to get through until at least some normalcy comes. But
I like that idea.
I take it from Walkie YMCA because we've had a lot of USA swim clubs use those lap lanes, and we've had to be creative on how to go about policing and fairness. And that was one of the tactics we used with it. So
We filled up so fast. Part of me is afraid if I opened it up to more ages, regular lap swimmers aren't going to get.
right.
And no, I mean, I want everybody to be able to swim, but there are limited times within a day. So that's the equation on how far do you open it up and how does that change?
Well, I can't 100% confirm this, but I am monitoring and watching from a distance one pool. And basically what they're doing, it looks like, is lap swim block, swim team block, lap swim block, swim team block, lap swim block. And how they're doing their swim team block is no more than 12. So they have 6 lanes. They're taking the 17-person diagram from USA Swimming, but knock it down to 12, where they're both on equal lanes. Their practice is no more than an hour. Granted, they've only been working on this since Friday. The real results will come on Friday, but I'll be curious to see how that works and if that would be kind of maybe a good model to go off of a little bit. So
Now that I think about it, my other concern or other reason for going 16, we do have a number of older lap swimmers who expressed concern about will there be kids there, and they don't want to come when there are kids there. You know, rather than do a seniors only time or immunocompromised time, we kind of, the option helps a little bit, but there's things to think about.
Okay, any other questions at this time? Is this helpful? Do we need to get back on in another week after some of you guys have opened to continue to share? And you guys can look at who was on this call. Hopefully you've written down some names to specifically reach out to, especially those that are planning on opening with Coralville, Ames, Carroll, that's currently opening. And then it sounds like Independence, Vinton, West Liberty, Kelowna, Lake Mills will be, along with Sioux City, Clinton, Iowa City opening up here. You know, and I'm going to keep my notes that I've got written down too. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you forget some of those of who you could contact in those areas. But I'm happy if you guys potentially have an interest to meet in another week or so, where we can send out another updated list. And I mean, I don't care if it's 10 people. For those of you, I think this has been a great chance to share ideas, learn, tweak things as we go is what we're hoping for those communities that have gotten the blessings to open up. And I'm going to say definitely a meeting if and when we ever get the all clear for open swim.
I would say that everybody who is about to open or are open right now, best of luck to you. We're thinking about you. Okay, I'm watching you. I might copy you, but good luck to you guys. And I know it's been a stressful time. So as you do get open, just know there's a bunch of us that are right behind you, helping it wherever we can. But good luck to all of you and all the people who are planning. Good luck with your planning. I, for one, am running a golf course, clubhouse, and selling beer. So I think of it as a promotion, thank you. But we will maybe, here in Cedar Rapids, maybe August. So, but I did want to make sure that, there's a whole bunch of us that maybe we're not doing it right now, but we're right here for you. And we know that you're going to have some tough times and hopefully some good will come out of it. And life will settle down for everybody. Thanks, guys.
On a side note, I remember Carolyn, and we were talking like weeks ago about if we try to exercise our pumps if we're not opening and, what's going to create. Figured this out. Here's a solution that you could consider. Technically, the pooch plunge can still run underneath COVID as long as you do social distancing. So if you move your pooch plunge and exercise your pumps, then it's a win-win. You got it. So we were talking about that here, and it's like, all right, well, there we go.
Well, I'm going to have to consider that one. That's a good idea.
I do want to just say quickly that the NRPA call for June was about some like specifics on reopening. So if you do need some resources, if you are a visual person, if you need SOPs of like how to reopen, cleaning, things like that, do check out the recording of the call. You can find it in the NRPA Aquatics Network Facebook group or over on Connect on the NRPA website. And I'm also happy to share our operational and procedure guide that we did our training on it yesterday with staff, and it also just has some our updated EAPs. It has our return to pool lifeguard checklist. It has our cleaning checklist. It has all that kind of stuff. So if you want that, just send me an email. I'm happy to send it to you.
And I'll add on that too, Phil, to add on that, I'm very big on mapping. So if people want to kind of see how I've mapped swim lessons as an example, I can show you. With that, just feel free to email me directly. But going back to your question, Kelly, I really think maybe another meeting next week would be kind of good. That's what my gut is saying. Just with, what the state's going to do this week. And as we look at other areas, regions hitting phase 2, phase 3 of their reopening, kind of taking some information on what those pools are currently doing right now for open swim and sharing that. So I don't mind gathering that information for the group between now and next time on how are they handling open swim and all that.
Okay. Super. I appreciate everyone's input. This is great. This is one of the best parts about the Aquatics Committee here is that we're always willing to get together and share and help each other out here. So I appreciate your time today, and best of luck to all of you as our weather now is no longer 90 degrees outside.
Put your water wings on, people. It's gonna get wet.
Yep. Okay, thanks guys. We'll see you.
Take care, everyone. Take care.